Dear students, let us discuss about unsupervised classification or clustering in this video lecture. We will first see what is expectation maximization and its relation to k-means clustering uh, for unsupervised classification task. We will see explicitly, we will see how Bayesian classification can be extended to unsupervised classification through Gaussian mixer models, and how it is usually solved through expectation maximization and followed by the simplification of it in terms of k-means clustering. Let us discuss the specific details of this. Let us assume that we have a set of samples x1, x2 and so on up to xn. So please note that these are different samples, not the index is not for dimensions. And these samples, these set of samples, that is total set of samples, may belongs to any of the classes, say omega 1, omega 2 and so on up to omega c. Okay, omega 1 or omega 2 or omega c. Okay, so please note that. So everywhere it is omega 1 or omega 2 or omega c. Okay, so we have n samples spanning C classes. Okay, so but we don't know explicitly among these C classes to which classes particular samples belongs to. Say if C equal to 3 and n equal to, say for example 500, we don't know which among these 500 belongs to class 1 and which among these 500 belongs to class 2 and so on explicitly. So the data is not labeled. Not labeled, unsupervised classification. So grouping, categorizing the data that is not labeled is referred to as unsupervised classification. That means we have a set of data, say let these data be in 2 dimensions. So then x1, x2. So these are features, small x refers to features, please note that. In such case we have data points, but these data points are all alike. So that means that no prior information that this belongs to this class, this belongs to that class is available. Okay, so now the problem is we wish to group them into 3 different categories. Say this all may become one group, this all may become one group, and this all may become one group, and the remaining probably are noise, or even these are grouped to the closest groups. Okay, so this is what we need to accomplish. This is referred to as unsupervised classification or clustering. Okay, say given that we already know about Bayesian classification, assume that so omega 1 class has a mean mu1 and variance sigma 1. Okay, assume hypothetically assume that we have some samples of omega 1 class with mean mu1 and variance sigma 1 and they are Gaussian distributed. Assume that for time being. Okay, similarly omega 2 class also has samples with corresponding mean and corresponding covariance matrix. Okay, and omega 3 also has corresponding mean and mu 3 and sigma 3. Okay, please note that if xk is belongs to r power d, then mu I is also belongs to r power d. Okay, and sigma I for ith class belongs to r power d cross d. Okay, so I hope you are clear on that. Now what we wish to get is, given these all the samples, we need to accomplish anyway the grouping. That is a task that we would like to do. But before we get into that, one thing that we can do is we can formulate a dense, like how the samples are distributed in two-dimensional or d-dimensional space. So that is probability density function of samples we can try to write in terms of the parameters of this different classes. So how do we write it? So assume that, yeah, as we said, three classes are having means and variances, and they may also have corresponding prior probabilities p of omega 1. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So they might also have the corresponding. Okay. So they might also have the corresponding prior probabilities p of omega 1. Okay, for sorry, let us write here p of omega 1 for class 1, okay, and p of omega 3 for class 3, and so on. Okay, p of omega 2 here for class 2. Okay, which are unknown. So now we want to write the joint density for or we want to write the density for all samples, given that these belongs to three different classes here, but in general they may belongs to n different classes. This theta now consists of all the parameters of class 1, class 2 and class 3. Essentially this theta may consist of theta 1, okay, and theta 2 and theta 3. Okay, in fact it also may consist of p of omega 1, p of omega 2 and p of omega 3. Okay, all together it may consider. And whereas what is theta 1? Theta 1 is nothing but mu 1 comma sigma 1. It's like that. Okay, so each of them are like that. So now we would like to write the like density of all samples. That means how the samples are spread out. Based on that, probably we will be able to do this grouping better. That's the idea. So how do I write the joint density? So p of omega 1 into p of x given omega 1, okay, plus p of omega 2 into p of x given omega 2 plus p of omega 3 into p of x given omega 3. I am writing for three classes, but it is in general can be written for any number of classes. And this is in some sense the total density, and this is in some sense p of x, parameterization of p of x. Okay, so as you can also see while we write the p of x in the previous discussions of Bayesian classification, we used to have the normalizing term p of x written like this, whereas p of x given omega 1 we write explicitly as p of omega 1 given p of omega 1 given x we will write it as, so p of x given omega 1 by p of x we write, and p of x is this. Okay, so here these are in some sense the multipliers for these densities are known as mixing weights. Okay, mixture weights. And these densities, so p of class densities, assuming that we don't have any of the parameters mu 1, mu 2 and sigma 1, sigma 2 and so on, as well as p of omega 1. None of the parameters are there, but we are writing in a parametric form, assuming that we will be able to find later. And then we can do the grouping better. And these are known as mixer densities. Okay, so each is a individual component of mixer density or component densities. This total is mixer density if we call, these are component densities. Mixer weights, it's okay, mixer densities. Okay, so now the question is, if we have each of them parameterized like this, in fact what we have parameterized is here is not omega 1. So what we have parameterized here is p of x given omega 1. Okay, similarly what we have parameterized here is x given omega 2, and what we have parameter here is x given omega 3. Okay, because the density of samples of that class alone are distributed in normally with mean mu 1 and variance sigma 1, and they have a prior probability. So these are the likelihoods now overall. These are the likelihoods. And this is the prior probabilities. Priors. Okay. So now, given assume that this is the framework we have, now we would like to pose this as a maximum likelihood estimation problem. Since we have all the samples with us, all x1, x varying, say for all samples x, okay, x1 to xn, all samples we have, given all x1 to xn, okay, fine, okay, all theta, okay, theta considers all this together, all this put together, okay. So theta using maximum likelihood estimation. So if we are able to find it, what is the advantage? Assume that if we are able to find it, the advantage is that we can group into three different categories, because we can say that all the probabilities which are having high probability, high likelihood, or high posterior here belongs to omega 1 class, high posterior here belongs to omega 2 class, and so on, based on the parameters we estimate. Okay. Now the question is, but how to find this? Because it's a complex problem where say if we start now differentiating with respect to each of them, so we don't have the grouping as such, which sample belongs to which class. So usually to find the parameters in this complex objective function is not very simple. So people, the solution for this is usually tackled through expectation maximization. These Gaussian mixer model parameters. Okay, so this overall altogether this is referred to as Gaussian mixer model. Okay, to find the parameters of this Gaussian mixer model, people employ to find the parameters of this Gaussian mixer model, people use a technique called expectation maximization. So let us see what this expectation maximization does. See, as the name indicates, it has two steps. One is expectation step and other is maximization step. We will not get into the derivations of any of these things, but let us see if we want to apply in a naive way expectation maximization, what should be done. Okay. So as indicated, it has expectation step, okay, and then maximization step. Okay, so in expectation, what is usually done is, say if xk are given, say for example, if we have x1, x2, and so on up to x n, okay, in which of the class these xk are most probably belonging to. So it is like, say for example, assuming that, so we have mu and sigma available. So assuming mu I and sigma I, okay, available. We'll see how we will get mu I and sigma I later. Okay, but assume for time being they're available. Then if we want to put, so to which class likelihood does this x1 to xn should be put in? That means That is what is done through expectation step. That means consider the probability p of x given xk given omega I, okay, and then based on p of xk given omega I, okay, put xk belonging to omega I class if p of xk given omega I is greater than all other probabilities, okay, that is greater than p of xk given omega j for all j not equal to I, okay. So given that, so then implies, okay, xk belongs to omega I class. This is what is done in the expectation step. That is based on the probability, based on class likelihoods, okay, we will to which class does it most probably belongs to, okay. While the classifications maximization step, what it tries to do, say for example, in this case, if xk, sum of the xk belongs to omega I class, okay, sum of the xi if they belongs to omega I class, then what this tries to does is what is best if say what is best mu I and omega I for that class. If few, in sense, say some xk, I will not say few, so we will let us say that few xi, okay, if we say that some xk belongs to omega I, then what are mu I and sigma I, okay, that maximize okay, for those xk, okay, to have p of xk given omega I normal distributed with this mu I and sigma I, okay. This is what is being done by maximization step, okay. So what here we are doing is, since we have a complex cost function we will not be able to solve all together, we are assuming in one stretch that mu I and sigma I are fixed, and based on that we are trying to put each of the sk into one category. In the next step we are assuming that these are already put into some category and refine the values of mu I and sigma I, okay. So this is the framework referred to as expectation maximization, okay. So now so usually anywhere once we take expectation step and take maximization step, again take the expectation step with respect to the maximized values, and followed by the maximization step, and so on. This is to, in an iterative way, if we perform expectation maximization, it is referred to as expectation maximization technique, okay. So this is widely used in finding out the parameters for Gaussian mixed models. See, Gaussian mixed models are very common. Say if I have an image, for example, okay, assume that if I have an image, in this image assume that there is a foreground, okay, and there is a background, okay. Assume that usually there will be some set of features that are unique for foreground, some set of features unique for background. Then I would like to cluster these samples, pixels, into two categories, but I don't know which is foreground region. Say there may be again foreground region here, okay, this again may be foreground, okay, and so on. So I don't know explicitly where the foreground region is and where the background region is, okay. So in such cases, so how do I do is the question. So how do we do is, one technique that people employ is expectation maximization. One stretch we assume that this mean of foreground region and covariance of covariance matrix of foreground like samples. Each sample here is a, say for example, each a pixel, each is a pixel, and pixel will have features. So each pixel may have a, so each pixel will have a, okay, feature vector. Okay, and this I take as the feature vector. Say if this pixel is, say xi comma yi, okay, so at this pixel, say pi I call, okay, for this pi the feature vector is, say whatever xi, okay, so like that. So at each pixel I may have, so total number of pixels I have is 10 power, say if it is 100 cross 100 image, I may have 10 power 4 pixels or 10 power 4 samples now. All these 10 power 4 I would like to categorize into background and foreground. So that is can be done conveniently through Gaussian mixer models, and hence the background foreground can be separated. Similarly, if I take this one problem, so there are several applications people do. Okay, second application is, for example, if I have a image, okay, for which I have plotted a histogram. Okay, and this histogram for this image is again so something like this. Okay, so it is looks like three Gaussian models are there in this histogram. So this is intensity, okay, and this is the histogram. Okay, so I can consider that there are three, say this is one Gaussian, okay, this is another Gaussian, and this may be another Gaussian. Okay, so each of them have different mu and variances. So here mu1 comma sigma 1 for this, okay, or sigma 1 here, this is one dimensional, so I can consider mu1 comma sigma 1, here mu3 comma sigma 3 for this. Okay, so each is a Gaussian with different mu and sigma. Okay, and this is mu2 comma sigma 2. Okay, like that. So this is also a Gaussian mixer, because you cannot explicitly separate which region belongs to this. Say there may be in the image, assume that there are three kinds of intensities. Say one is background, where it predominantly appearing. Okay, so one is background. Okay, another is foreground somewhere. Okay, even this may be foreground. Okay, and somewhere the other region is, for example, somewhere actually this is this is the another object. Okay, so it may have three different structures in it, or intensity patterns in it. Okay, so we would like to separate this with respect to the this zero intensity, and this may be, say for example, this may be 0 and 255. Okay, so bright region we would like to separate into three different regions. So this can also be done through histogram modeling as Gaussian mixer. Okay, like that. There are several applications. So now let us see how this explicitly can be done in a simplified manner. So I would like to, I hope both of the things were discussed at some point of time in our previous discussions. So what is good solution for expectation? So assume that, remember that we have modeled P of xk given omega I, okay, as n of mu I comma sigma I. Okay, so in this case, if we are taking, say, expectation step and maximization step, what explicitly are we would like to write. Okay, so let us write first the expectation step. What is expectation step? Can you guess? It is just the Bayesian classification using likelihoods. Okay, at that iteration. Okay. Similarly, what is the maximization step now? See, if this is the, if I say that, say x1 to say some 10 samples or 100 samples belongs to omega 1 class. Okay, if I say that this is the expectation step, and say if I say that x1 and x3 and so on some samples, okay, and x15 or 150 belongs to say omega I class, if I say that. Okay, so what is the best fit for the Gaussian fit, like mean and variance for p of x given omega I, okay, xk given omega I, for these samples, what is the best mu and variance I will get? Okay, so what is mu I is equal to what? Is statistical sum xi, okay, xi 1 by, okay, number of samples. So I say ni, okay, ni is xi belonging to omega I, okay, xk, sorry, xk, where xk belonging to omega I, okay, summation over k. Okay, so this ni is the number of samples in ith class. Okay, similarly, sigma I is what? 1 by ni summation over k, all xk belongs to omega I, because we have taken only samples of this class, and then xk minus mu I into xk minus mu I transpose. So could you remember from where did I got these expressions? Okay, given by ML estimation. Okay, these expressions were given by ML estimation. Okay, so these were given by maximum likelihood estimation. Okay, and whereas these were given by what? Bayesian classification. Okay, so here in expectation maximization we are using both Bayesian classification and the parameter estimation. Okay, so as discussed before, if we have the parameters we apply Bayesian classification, and if we don't have the parameters we apply parameter estimation, that is maximum likelihood estimation. So in fact we have already discussed about expectation maximization, because when we have general samples we don't know like in the previous setting when we discussed about this expectation step, that is Bayesian classification, we know that the samples belong to only that particular class, and we also assumed that this mean and variance are given, okay, covariance are given, and from where there we did based on likelihood we have classified. While we were discussing about maximum likelihood estimation before, we said that the samples are belonging to only that class. Okay, but here the problem is these samples may or may not belong to this class. So in that way what we are doing is may not be optimal. So the initial categorization, the initial estimation of, so what we are doing here, using at that iteration, so mu I and sigma I assumed values. Okay, these assumed values may not be accurate. Okay, and then these are with these values we have done. So what people will do in to make them more refined, so we do again here. Okay, and then expectation step here and then here. Okay, so this is repeated for several iterations to do estimate, reshuffling or data allocation with expectation step, and then maximization step for finding better and better means and covariances or parameters of that xk. Here Bayesian classification means what? Xk, we will write the Bayesian classification explicitly here. Let me write xk belongs to omega I if and only if p of xk given omega I is greater than p of xk given omega j, okay, for all j. Okay, this is how we did the allocation of samples to different classes. Here based on the allocation we did, here is how we find the update of the estimates. Okay, so this exactly is what is done in k-means clustering as well, with only difference that the k-means clustering assumes that the covariance is not like computation of covariance can also be simplified or ignored, and it assumes identity covariance and does that. Okay, so what k-means clustering does is, so in a way what this whole process does, if I am able to do this, I am putting all the samples into the number of different categories, 3 different categories at the end. Okay, and without having their labels with us. Okay, so now k-means clustering. Okay, what this k-means cluster does is, again same, expectation. See, what k-means clustering does, as I said, is first it assumes that the density it considers is with identity covariance matrix. So if we write all these things with identity covariance matrix, so P of say xk given omega I, okay, with identity covariance matrix is equal to e power minus half xk minus mu I into covariance matrix is identity, and hence what will happen, xk minus mu I transpose into. Okay, and then 1 by root 2 pi, all that will be there. So I will write 2 pi whole power d by 2, and identity matrix is anyway identity 1, the determinant of identity matrix is 1, and hence the, so far with identity covariance matrix P of xk given omega is this. So in other words, this can be simplified as 1 by, it is anyway constant, e power minus, how can I write this, norm of xk minus mu I whole square. Okay, so now if we want to, so if we say that xk, let us come now about discuss about the expectation and maximization steps. Let us discuss about the expectation step. Okay, so what is expectation? Xk belongs to omega I if P of xk given omega I is greater than P of xk given omega z for all I not equal to z. Okay, that means, this means what? See, anyway the probabilities now only depend upon the distances. The probability being higher means that the distance is smaller. Okay, xk minus mu I, okay, is smaller than any other distance with respect to any other class mean. Okay, no, now there is no dependency absolutely on the covariance because we made it identity, that doesn't come into picture. So what k-means clustering does is, as a one iteration or first step, okay, assume all mu I and sigma I. So here there is no sigma I, so assume all mu I. So assume mu I equal to 1 to C classes. Okay, then assume that, let us assume first, okay, and then do expectation, that is put each of the sample into that class xi. Okay, so where the distance with respect to xk belongs to omega, okay, implies, so where the distance with respect to that mean is closer compared to all other means. So that means if you have the samples like this, okay, so if I start with some mean, so initially if I assume that this is the mean I am considering, okay, mu1 and mu2, assume that I just want to do 2 groups or 3 groups, fine. Okay, so I put 3 groups, so mu1, mu2 and mu3. Okay, and then how do I put it? All the samples closest to this compared to other means will come and put into this category. Okay, so all this will be put into this category and all these are put into this category. Okay, so this is what is done in first iteration of the k-means. Okay, so now associate the samples, that is samples to closest means. Okay, this is the one step in k-means. Second step, let us see for the second step. Next step. Okay, see, once we complete the expectation step, what do we do? Maximization. What do we want to maximize? See, again, anyway, we want to maximize p of xk omega I. What are the parameters of p of xk given omega I? Best parameters given, okay, best parameters of p of xk given omega I given the partitioning. Based on given samples to that class. Or mu I. Okay, that means. So how do we do it now? So the next step is now that is apply ML estimate to find mu I, best mu I given samples as in 2. Okay, so apply ML estimate to find mu I given, say, some xk belonging to omega I. Fine. So what is the best ML estimate? Mu I here is equal to 1 by n sigma xk belonging to omega I. Okay, which are already classified. So please note that here no need to update the covariance because there is no role of covariance matrix. So now what will happen here, if we see with the same data that we have plotted before? So if we just take the same data, let us see if we can copy the same data. Okay. See, I just copied the same data here, and now what we would like to do is, so let us see, remove this borders, and I will try to find better, so based on these categorization, we would like to find new means now. Okay, so new means. So we represent new means with say black now. So this new mean for this is something like this. Okay, this is a new mean. Okay, mu1 hat. Okay, new mean in second iteration. And for this new mean, maybe assume that for this the new mean is somewhere here. Okay, and somewhere here. Okay, and for this the new mean is somewhere here. Okay, so now these are the new means. Mu3 modified. Okay, and mu2 modified, and mu1 anyway modified. Okay, so now based on these new means, what will happen? New categorization will happen. So new categorization, assume that this is one category, or new grouping will happen. So this is the next grouping, and then the third grouping, assume that this is done like this. Okay, so now this is the second grouping. So this is the maximization step. So maximization step form, the role of maximization step is to form new means. Okay, so based on new means, so again do for expectation. Okay, go for again expectation step. Okay, and then after expectation again go for maximization step. Okay, so let us draw this with a slightly different sketch. Okay, right. So now these are actually means formed. Okay. Grouping after maximization. Okay, so it is like expectation to maximization, and then maximization to expectation. Okay, based. Okay, fine. So this repeats, this process repeats, and after repetitions you can see that now clusters are well formed. So finally the clusters, say for example, if I remove the other things, let me see if I can again right. So here let me remove the previous things, so that you can see only the clusters that are finally formed. So after several iterations of k-means, it becomes, say I will show the final how the clusters may be in final k after few iterations of the k-means. Okay, so you have one more here. So this forms one cluster, this forms one cluster, and this may form another cluster. So finally the new final means, maybe this may be one mean, and this may be another mean, this may be another mean, and these are the clusters, so which are well formed. So the result of k means. After few iterations, E and M, expectation maximization, around convergence. So now the means doesn't get changed, because there will be no change in the cluster form. So even if I find again, this will be the mean, this will be the mean, and this will be the mean. If the means are not changing, then the samples, cluster samples also doesn't change, cluster members also doesn't change. So this is referred to as k-means clustering. So to write explicitly in k-means clustering, what do we I will write the algorithmic steps just to give a brief idea of final simple algorithm for k-means. So start with, say for example, number of decide. Okay, decide number of clusters, okay, or groups to be formed. Okay, let it be equal to k equal to c groups. Okay, c or k groups. Then this is first step, so we will write the numbers itself. First step. Second, form, assume initial means and initial means. Assume C initial means. Okay, mu1 up to mu c. These may be randomly initialized at any location in the feature space, or you can consider one mean and the other means which are distinct from the rest of the mean. Say one mean here, one mean here, one mean here, like that. So there are to make the maximum difference between these means. So there are different strategies for assuming or in getting like initializing the means. And once you initialize the means, then the third thing is group the samples. So after assuming, group the samples to these means. Okay, so some xk belongs to omega I if xk minus mu I is less than xk minus mu j. Okay, for all I not equal to j. Based on the distance, Euclidean distance, you put the xk into the mean that has minimum Euclidean distance with respect to that mean. Okay, that is the third step. This and fourth step is what? Group the samples into mean. After you group the samples into mean, find new means. Find new means based on the grouping above. Okay, in step 3. Okay, so now you find new means. How do I find new means? Mu I is equal to sigma xk belongs to omega I, because this keep xk and 1 by ni. Ni is cardinality of omega I. Okay, number of samples in omega I. Omega I. Okay, and then what do we do next? Repeat 3 and 4 till mu I, okay, minus mu I. So t minus 1, okay, do not change. Okay, till the means doesn't change, you keep iterating this. Okay, so and then please note that what is expectation step here. If you want to relate to expectation maximization, this expectation and which is maximization, this is maximization. Okay, and these are repeated till the convergence, and this is how the k-means clustering is done. So now as you people can easily understand and program this, now you can also think of incorporating the covariance matrix. So if there is a covariance matrix within this, how does the expectation how does the covariance k-means changes? So wherein we exactly follow the same, so this procedure is followed now. Okay, when the covariance is there, this is what will happen. I would also suggest you to note that this Gaussian mixer models are very well used for image segmentation. So this is the third application here is image segmentation. In fact, the applications, both the applications I have discussed here are in some form, different form of image segmentation. Okay, in fact the widely used or most widely used method for image segmentation is expectation maximization. Okay, right. So and one final note, k-means clustering can also be considered as minimizing a cost function, which is, say for example, here this step of minimizing can also be considered as k-means also considered as minimizing the cost function that is having Okay, minimizing this cost function where I, where xk all they have same meaning, but p of xk given omega I is equal to 1 if xk is belongs to omega I at that instant and 0 else. Okay, so this is also considered as the cost function that is used in pay. So how, why is it? Because in maximization step now, if you want to bring in this and optimize with respect to the mu I, what you get is the this expression. Okay, so that you can interpret this in this way as well. Thank you.